Madam President, imagine going into a U.S. prison and announcing that a substantial number of the prisoners had to be released immediately. No exceptions, even if the prisoners in question had participated in serious crimes or committed violent offenses. That is an unthinkable scenario. And no one would seriously suggest going into our nation's prisons and immediately releasing thousands of prisoners, including violent offenders, onto the streets. And yet that's exactly what Democrats are proposing as part of a border security agreement. Over the weekend, Democrats proposed capping the number of illegal immigrants who can be detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And incredibly, they're refusing to allow an exemption to the cap for violent criminals. Under Democrats' proposal, if Immigration and Customs Enforcement needed to detain more than 16,500 violent criminals in the interior of our country, they simply wouldn't be able to do it. Instead, immigration enforcement officers would have to choose which violent criminals to release back into our communities. Think about that, Madam President. Obviously, everyone who has come here illegally has broken our laws. But in a lot of cases in question, we're talking about people who have violated other laws, like laws against assault, rape, murder, theft, drug trafficking, and more. We're talking about limiting law enforcement's ability to make sure that those individuals are detained. And it isn't just about future detentions either. If Democrats' enforcement cap went into effect, Immigration and Customs Enforcement would be forced to release criminals already in detention onto our nation's streets. Additionally, there are an estimated 180,000 criminal illegal aliens in the United States who are currently not in custody. So under Democrats' proposal, not only would Immigration and Customs Enforcement be forced to release violent criminals for all practical purposes, it would also be prohibited from trying to take additional dangerous criminals off our streets. Madam President, let's be very clear about what we are talking about here. We are talking about limiting the ability of a law enforcement agency to enforce criminal laws. No administration of either party would accept an arbitrary limit on the number of criminals it can detain. No administration would or should sign off on a law that would force law enforcement agencies to leave violent criminals on our nation's streets. Madam President, as of a couple of days ago, Republicans, I would say, were encouraged by the bipartisan nature of the negotiations to prevent another government shutdown. And then Democrats came forward with this absurd proposal to limit law enforcement's ability to detain even dangerous criminals. Are Democrats trying to derail negotiations with a poison pill at the 11th hour and force another shutdown? The question has to be asked, since no one could seriously think that any president of either party would sign a deal that limited his administration's ability to enforce the law. Madam President, we still have a few days left. I hope that Democrats will abandon this preposterous proposal to release dangerous criminals onto our nation's streets. We can achieve a deal to avert another shutdown, but we can't do it by jeopardizing law enforcement's ability to protect the American people.